Back, everyone. So you say you want a life in public service, politics, policy, and lawmaking. A man who's officially bowed out of a couple of weeks ago as a high-ranking member of the Ohio House of Representatives talked with me about the good, the grind, and what can be the kind of the ugly side of the political game. Former state rep of Ohio's 46th district, Matt Zalassi. And we are with the man who has stepped down from the Ohio House within the last couple of weeks, Matt Zalassi, joining us on Conklin & Company. Good to see you again, man.
Thank you, Lee. Appreciate it.
Congratulations, I guess, right, on this, what has happened in your life. This is more of a personal situation, a professional opportunity for you and your family, so congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We're now a couple of weeks removed from that moment when you did step down, and interesting comment you had for your colleagues, or former colleagues, that you can have political differences, personal differences, but don't let it get to the bickering, the nitpicking, the attacks. And it's interesting, and as I talk to you here, I get the feeling that maybe that became a bit of a grind, kind of the backbiting, the backstabbing that goes on in Columbus or Washington or Toledo. Is that the case?
You wonder why, people wonder why there's so much gridlock in Columbus, Ohio or Washington, D.C. It's because of the personal attacks. And I tried to set a standard whereby you reach across the aisle, you try to work with your colleagues and avoid the political attacks. And that's something that I chose to do and something that I advised them to do more of in my farewell speech.
So you leave the Oregon City Council, you become a state representative, win 3 elections pretty handily, and became a leader in the House shortly after you were elected. So does that speak to what you talk about, reaching across that aisle, becoming a consensus builder?
I was very fortunate to have the support of my colleagues and strong support of the residents of the city of Toledo and Oregon and in my districts, and for that I'm very thankful. But you have to push hard. I mean, certainly there are going to be policy differences and there are going to be political differences. It doesn't mean they have to be personal differences. When you get into the personal attacks, then there are political scores to settle. There's bad feelings. One side doesn't want to talk to the other, and it just evolves into complete gridlock.
Putting that the personal attacks aside, when you're able to get something done, you're able to come to a consensus. Of course, the governor has this budget. We're getting to the nitty-gritty now on when this will, the rubber will meet the road here.
Right.
But when you're able to get something done, public service, is it all worth it at that point?
No question. It's a great feeling. You mentioned politics being a grind. Being a state representative is a grind. I can tell you a lot of time on the road, a lot of time away from home in Columbus, miss birthday parties, miss sporting events, and those are the things I don't want to miss anymore, which is why I made the decision I did, to put my family first, so to speak, and have the opportunity to be there. But when you talk about that grind, it is very much worth it if you value public service and helping people. It's very, very fulfilling.
Give us one bill, one measure that maybe where there was controversy and a lot of angst on both sides and some arm twisting, where you got something done and said, you know, that was worth it. That piece of legislation is important to the 46th district of Ohio.
Oh,
Can you
sure.
Look back on one particular thing?
I can think of a number of them. For example, I worked closely with my friend Mark Wagner to come up with some seed money for Rocket Ventures, which is administered through the Regional Growth Partnership.
Yeah.
And you know, the overwhelming success that initiative has had has created hundreds of jobs.
An arm under RGP,
yes,
right? Correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
It's interesting you mentioned Mark Wagner, a Republican, an attorney,
yes.
Young children, also exited stage. Well, for Mark, it would have been stage right.
Right.
You're stage left.
Right.
Right?
But there's not much between us.
No, but it's similar in the fact that you both tend to reach across the aisle.
Yes.
So no coincidence that you're great friends.
A very close friend of mine, and you know, our wives, we've all gone out to eat together, and a guy that really kind of showed me the ropes when I first entered Columbus, and for that I'll be grateful, and Mark and I will remain good friends outside of politics as well.
Where's this budget going now? The governor's pushed for that sales tax cut. People within his own party have pushed back on that. Let's give small businesses the break.
Right.
You know, as you watch, I imagine you're still a very interested observer.
Very much so.
Matt Zalassi. So where do you think this will go in the next couple of weeks?
Well, it's such an interesting process. The House puts its stamp on it, goes over to the Senate. What comes out of the Senate looks nothing the same.
Totally different.
Totally different. And now the measure is in what's called the conference committee. Oh, it will be after today. Today the House will reject the Senate amendments and send it to conference.
As we tape here earlier this week.
And then of course the conference committee will have a couple of weeks. Per the Constitution, they have to pass it into law by the end of June. So it's all the marbles and all the chips are in the middle of the table for the next 2 weeks through the conference committee.
And your feeling on the tax cuts that are out there on the table?
Well, you know, I support small business tax cuts because I think they do spur the economy and job creation. You know, the severance tax on the oil and gas is yet another issue that caused a lot of angst in Columbus on both sides of the aisle. Anytime you're talking about taxes, that's always a hot button issue. School funding is a hot button issue. There are a number of things that we're still working on, or they're working on, and I'm monitoring at this point.
Right.
And you know, we will.
On the outside looking in.
On the outside looking in now, yes.
You left with 18 months left.
Yes.
On your term. Certainly a ways to go.
Yes.
Was it just a case of this opportunity with ACT Ohio?
Yes.
A case where it was too good to pass up, Matt?
Absolutely.
At that time?
Absolutely. I mean, the term limits had nothing to do with my decision. I can assure you the opportunity to work in this capacity, it's a 501c5 organization, intimately involved in economic and industrial development and incorporating best practices for the construction industry, which is my background. And of course, the opportunity to stay involved politically in Columbus, which I
when you're involved in labor, politics will come into play.
I will certainly be involved politically, and again, most importantly, home every night with Melanie and the kids.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about that. You have 3 young children.
Yes.
So take us behind the curtain, if you can, Matt. As a state representative, you take over in what, 07?
Yes.
So your kids at that time are extremely young. They're babies. They're babies. So what happens? You have a practice up here.
Yes.
And then, what, Tuesday or Wednesday morning, you head down to Columbus, right? I mean, how's that work?
Get on the road either Monday night or by 5 a.m. Tuesday morning, and all day Tuesday, usually till about 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and then up early again on Wednesday, depending upon committee schedules and so forth, either stay in Wednesday into Thursday or get on the road late Wednesday night was my schedule the last few years.
You're spending the middle of the week in Columbus.
Yes.
All right, and missing that time with your kids. But not anymore. So you moved down to Columbus now, right? You got a place down there?
Yes, yes. Just closed the last Friday, so we're very excited about it.
It's like a whirlwind for you.
It's been a tornado, so to speak.
Yeah. And at this point, with this budget battle going on, not far from where you're living now, do you miss it at this point? You're so early in, it's like, have fun.
At this point, my new position has been so crazy. I don't even feel like my feet have hit the ground yet. So it hasn't really set in, but I think it will in very short order. I'll certainly miss being in the legislature. It was a wonderful job. I enjoyed working with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle. You know, I've created lifelong friendships there, and you know, I will certainly miss it.
Well, Northwest Ohio is going to miss you. I know you'll be back to see family and
no question.
and friends, but you're one of those folks who's moving south or has already moved south. Thank you for coming in on
Thank you,
Conklin & Company.
Lee.
We appreciate it.
Thanks
for your service in Columbus.
No problem. Thank you.
City of Oregon here as well.
Thank you, Lee.
Okay, we're going to come back in just a minute. Conklin & Company continues right after this.